Saturday started off quietly. The kitchen smelled of toast and coffee, and outside the window she could hear someone walking a dog on the sidewalk. Liana put a bowl of oatmeal on the table, cut an apple, and glanced at the schedule on her phone. School committee, laundry, market, call to mom. Everything was familiar, no surprises. Celeste, come down, breakfast is getting cold, she said without raising her voice. The daughter came into the kitchen wearing a school team sweatshirt, a ponytail, and headphones hanging around her neck. Hi, she said, sitting down. Can I go to Catherine's later? They have a puppy. Her mom said I could help feed her. First history and a little algebra, Liana answered. Then call me and be home by 5. Celeste nodded. She had long understood the family rules and argued only on business. Adrian came down with his laptop. He was wearing a shirt, even though it was a day off. He put his mug under the coffee machine, hugged his daughter with one arm, and kissed Leona on the top of her head. Good morning, everyone, he said. I have one section of the report to finish by lunchtime. Then I'm free. We wanted to go to the farmer's market, Liana recalled, with pumpkins, cheese, and live music. You promised last weekend. I remember. Give me an hour or two. He looked at the screen and immediately began typing a message. I really will finish by lunch. Liana didn't argue. She knew that an hour or two often turned into later. She served Adrian some oatmeal and set some toast next to him. Celeste, take water and a sweater with you, she said. It's warm in the morning, but it might get cold later. Okay, the daughter answered. Someone in the house next door turned on a lawn mower. Liana looked out the window, nodded to the neighbor across the street, and immediately looked away. After breakfast, Celeste went to her room to do her homework. Adrian locked himself in his office. Liana loaded the washing machine, packed a bag for the market, and wrote a short message in the tight chat that she was ready to help at the book stand next week. The answer came quickly. Thank you, we'll book you in for the morning. The walk to the market took 20 minutes. The parking lot was filled with cars with open trunks, from which families were pulling out folding chairs. It was a typical scene in their suburb. Liana took Celeste's hand as they crossed the street and let go when she saw the row of pumpkins. Shall we take this one? Asked Celeste, pointing to the middle, even one. It's suitable, and we'll take some apples, said Liana. They picked out cheese from Vermont farmers, a jar of honey, a bag of greens. Celeste stopped at the pickle stand and looked at Liana. Daddy will like it, she said. Let's take a small jar. We'll take it, Liana agreed, and felt a slight warmth from this concern. On their way back to the car, they paused near a musician playing an acoustic guitar. Celeste stood there for a minute, nodding along to the beat, then asked, Mom, did you often go to concerts before? When I was younger, Liana smiled, in college. Did you and your dad go together? Sometimes. Then work started, then you. We started choosing home evenings more often. Celeste didn't comment. She walked forward, holding the pumpkin with both hands. Liana noted that her daughter was growing and becoming more independent. It was both pleasing and frightening. She wanted to have time to talk about something important while there was still time. At home, Adrian was still in the office. The door remained closed, and short phrases could be heard occasionally. He was on the phone. Liana unloaded the bags, put the groceries in the refrigerator, and put the pumpkin on the porch. Celeste laid out the purchases, took out the cucumbers, and put them in a visible place. Remind Dad tonight, she said. He'll forget if he doesn't see it. Let me remind you, Liana answered. At 1:30, Adrian came down to the kitchen. He looked tired, but tried to keep up his spirits. Almost everything, he said. There's just a little left. How's the market? Good. We bought cheese and honey, and cucumbers for you, said Liana. Cool, he said, smiling at Celeste. Thanks for thinking. Are we going to watch a movie tonight? The daughter asked. Yes, said Adrian, after dinner. He picked up the plate, but the phone on the table lit up again. The message looked urgent. He read it and winced. I need to answer. 5 minutes, he said, and went upstairs again. Liana didn't stop him. She got out a frying pan and started frying chicken for the salad. Celeste set the table without saying a word. The kitchen was quiet. Liana thought that silence was not bad when you chose it. When it was imposed, you got tired of it. Adrian returned 20 minutes later. He sat down at the table as if nothing had happened, but his eyes were briefly apologetic. "Let's go for a walk after lunch," he said. "I'll turn off notifications." "Go ahead," Liana nodded. They ate. They talked about school, about practice on Tuesdays, about the fair at school the following Saturday. Liana said she had signed up for the morning shift. Adrian promised to come around noon. "Come at 11, Liana said. "There'll be a bakery stand there, and Celeste wants to help." "I'll come," he replied. After lunch, they went for a walk around the block. The wind was cool, leaves crunched under their feet. Neighbors were trimming their bushes, someone was taking boxes out for recycling. They exchanged quick greetings. On the corner of the street, a poster for a family center was posted. Stress management classes, lectures for parents of teenagers, consultations on digital habits. "I'm thinking of signing up for a lecture," Liana said, "about digital frontiers, for us and for Celeste." "Good idea," Adrian said. "Tell me when. I'll try to get free." The word "I'll try" sounded familiar. Liana wasn't picky. She wanted them to get to the evening without another urgent. At home, Celeste called Catherine and arranged to meet at their place. Liana drove her by car and returned. In the kitchen, she washed the dishes and put the washing machine on its last cycle. Adrian sat with his laptop in the living room, but without calls or messages. "I'm thinking of taking a couple of days off in November," he said after a pause. "After the project is delivered, we'll go into town. Dinner, hotel, walk. We haven't been out for a long time." "That would be good," Liana answered. "The main thing is to take the truth." "I'll take it." He looked at her and smiled a little warmer. At 5, they picked up Celeste. On the way home, the daughter talked about the puppy, how he was afraid of the vacuum cleaner, and how funny he ran on the wooden floor. Adrian listened attentively and asked clarifying questions. Liana felt that this was exactly the kind of simple attention she was missing. Not long conversations, but presence. In the evening, they cooked dinner together. Liana cut vegetables, Adrian took the chicken out of the oven, Celeste laid out the plates. There were cucumbers on the table, the jar was opened with general approval. "This is delicious," Adrian said after trying it. "Thank you for buying it." "It was my idea," Celeste said. "And a good one," he replied. After dinner, they turned on the movie and put their phones on the kitchen table away. It was a bit dark in the living room, so they left the floor lamp on. The movie was family-friendly, without any difficult themes. Halfway through, Celeste yawned and settled down with a pillow, resting her head on her mother's lap. Adrian sat next to her, occasionally commenting on funny moments in a quiet whisper. At this hour, everything was simple and understandable. When the movie ended, the phones still rang. Liana's was a reminder from the TA. Adrian's was a message from a colleague. He looked at the screen, sighed, and blocked it. "I'll answer tomorrow morning," he said. "That's enough for today." Liana nodded. She cleared away the dishes. Celeste went to bed. The house became quiet again. But this time, the silence was not annoying. In the bedroom, Liana folded clean laundry, set aside a few items for charity. She thought about how often their plans clashed with work, and how easy it was to say, "We'll see," instead of "Let's set a time." She didn't feel angry. She wanted the two of them to start thinking about their weeks again as a shared task, rather than a set of parallel schedules. "How are you?" Adrian asked as he entered the room. "Everything okay?" "Okay," Liana said. "I signed up to volunteer at the fair. There'll be a stand with books. Will you help me move the boxes in the morning?" "I'll help," he replied, "and I want to try to get back into the habit of having dinner together without phones at least 3 times a week. I think it's possible." "Let's start with Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday," Liana suggested. And let's agree that an hour or two really means an hour or two. He nodded. You're right. I often break it. I'm not making excuses. I'll keep an eye on it. They lay down. Liana turned off the light, but stared at the ceiling for a few more minutes. She remembered how, at the beginning of their marriage, they would argue over little things and quickly make up in the evening. Over the years, they had argued less, but caution had grown between them. She was not a stranger, but she was not the closeness they were used to. Liana thought that she did not want to leave this caution unattended. It was not conflicts that decided a marriage, but constant small agreements. Before going to bed, she checked to make sure everything was packed for the next day. Lunch boxes, gym uniform, wallet, keys. Her phone blinked again, but she put it face down on the nightstand. Tomorrow would be school, work, committee, shopping. Everything as usual. And yet, she wished that this, as usual, would include more conversations where they could hear each other. A neighborhood security car drove by on the street. The house around them was solid, predictable, with even lines of schedules and plans. Liana closed her eyes and decided that on Monday she would call the family center and ask about the lecture. She fell asleep peacefully. The morning promised to be ordinary, but she made a promise to herself to make sure that in their ordinary there was a little more attention to each other. Monday started without delay. The alarm went off at 6:45. Liana warmed up the remains of pancakes, made coffee. Celeste went down with a backpack and a tablet and checked the schedule. We have choir practice on Tuesdays, she said. Am I being picked up at 4 or are you coming? I'll come, Liana answered. Right 15 minutes before the end. Adrian came down later, phone in hand. He was already reading the work chat. Office today, he said. We have a client meeting at 11. I might be late tonight. What time will you be arriving? Liana asked. By 8 or 9. No later, he took the thermos. Good luck with the tea. Thank you, Liana said. He kissed her cheek, murmured a goodbye to his daughter, and left. The house was quiet. Liana waited for Celeste to leave for the school bus, cleared the table, and sat down with her planner in the kitchen. A small committee meeting was scheduled for the evening at a cafe near the school, to distribute the stands, discuss who would take the payment, and who would deliver the boxes. By midday, Liana had unpacked the laundry basket, made a grocery list, and answered a couple of emails. At 1 o'clock, she stopped at the supermarket. The basket was filled with the usual: milk, eggs, pasta, sauce, vegetables. At the milk refrigerators, she ran into Caspar. He was holding a bag of salad and a list written on a piece of paper. Hello, he said. I didn't think I'd see you on a weekday. How are you? It's fine, Liana answered. I'm buying food for the week. If you're going to update the fence, I still have 2 days left when I'm home. Wednesday and Friday, he said in a neutral tone, as if he were talking about trash cans. I'll see about the weather, Liana said. And thanks for the tools. They're in the hallway for now. Take your time, he nodded. Have a nice day. They parted ways at the checkout. Liana noted that the conversation had lasted a minute and promised nothing. It was convenient. She didn't want anyone to fill the voids in her life until she and Adrian figured out how to move on. But the voids were still there. By 2, she was back home, putting away the groceries, marinating the chicken, chopping up some vegetables for soup. A reminder popped up on the screen. Ta coffee at 3:30. Liana grabbed her purse and left. The cafe was noisy. 3 mothers and 1 father were sitting at a table by the window. All acquaintances. They first talked about the weather, then got down to business. The committee chair, Jenny, opened her laptop. We have 6 main booths, she said. Books, baked goods, board games, secondhand for kids, a craft fair, and music. Liana, you're in charge of books. You'll need to take the boxes in the morning, sort them by age, and run the cash register for the first 2 hours. I will, said Liana. Will I have an assistant? Sarah will join you at 9, plus a couple of seniors. And one more question. Who can help hang the signs on Friday night? Liana raised her hand. I can do it for an hour or an hour and a half. Great. Then I'll send you a list of tasks, Jenny said. The conversation went quickly. After the official part, they discussed teachers, homework, and sections. Someone mentioned that the Family Center was launching a new course for parents, conversations about boundaries and respect. Liana wrote down in her notebook and took a photo of the announcement on the wall of the cafe. She had been carrying this idea around since last week and wanted to bring it to a specific date. At 4, she went to the school to pick up Celeste. She waited at the side entrance. Her daughter came out of the building with a music folder and a bottle of water. 5 new songs, Celeste said. 2 in Spanish. Lots of homework, but I can handle it. Home, dinner, then we'll make a plan, Liana answered. On the way, Celeste asked, will Dad come to dinner? He said he'll be there by 8 or 9, Liana said. It's important for him to finish it today. I see, Celeste said, and buried her face in her phone. At home, everything was going according to plan. The soup smelled in the kitchen, the chicken was on the baking sheet, the oven was heating up. Liana asked Celeste to set the table and checked her email. There was a letter from the Family Center. Boundaries and Respect course Wednesdays, 7 o'clock, 8:30 p.m. starts in 2 weeks. She clicked register and chose the for parents and teens format. She thought it was better than just a lecture. Adrian didn't show up by 8. He called at 8:15. I'm still in the office, he said. We're stuck on edits. Have dinner without me. Don't wait. Can you pick up what's left later? Liana asked. Yes. Leave it in the fridge. Sorry. I understand, she said. He and Celeste ate alone. They talked about school, about the history test, about the rain forecast for Friday. Celeste asked if she could invite a friend over for the weekend to bake cookies. There's a fair on Saturday, Liana reminded. Let's do it on Sunday afternoon. Okay, the daughter agreed. At a little after 9, Adrian arrived. He quietly put down his briefcase, took off his shoes, and looked into the kitchen. Thank you for dinner, he said. I'll warm it up. Do you want some soup? Liana asked. A little. He sat up, clearly tired. How's the taa? She briefly spoke about the distribution of stands and about the course at the Family Center. I signed up. Wednesday evening. It's a joint format parents and teenagers. The first meeting is in 2 weeks. I'll try to come, he said. Sign me up. The word, I'll try, hung between them again. Liana didn't react. She understood that he wasn't promising easily, but he wasn't refusing either. On Tuesday, the scene repeated itself, but with different details. In the morning, Celeste forgot her gym uniform. Liana took her bag to school, looked into the building through the reception, and signed the visitor's log. The hallway was lively. Returning to the car, she saw Julia, a neighbor from across the street, in the parking lot. Are you taking a course at the Family Center? Julia asked. I signed up because my son keeps arguing about his phone. Me too, said Liana. I think having common rules will help us. I agree, Julia nodded. See you there. During the day, Liana went to the hardware store to buy masking tape and gloves. Not because the fence repair was urgent, but because she wanted to finish at least one thing on the list. In the evening, Adrian returned at 8:30. He was keeping his promise to meet the designated deadline, but he looked like he was hanging on by the last of his strength. Let's have dinner together for at least 20 minutes, Liana said. Go ahead, he replied. They ate chicken and rice and talked about trivialities. Celeste said that the history teacher gave them a project for a month, and they had to choose a topic about migration. Adrian suggested taking the history of the great-grandmother's family. I have records somewhere, he said. In the garage, in boxes. We can watch it together on Saturday, Liana suggested. Saturday is taken up by the fair, he reminded me. Let's do it on Sunday. Okay, Liana said. Wednesday brought a brief spat in the morning. Adrian was distracted by his phone, standing by the coffee machine. Liana put the weekly list next to him. Doctor for Celeste Thursday 4 p.m. Fair Saturday. Water bill due by Friday. Course due in 2 weeks. See, she asked. We need to assign who does what. I see, he said, without looking up. I'll pay for the water today. The doctor won't be available on Thursday. I have a review with the team. Then I'll take you, Liana said. But let's agree on specific things. I don't want to carry everything on myself and wait for you to have a window. I understand, he put the phone down. I'll take care of the garage and the bills, and I'll help hang the signs at school on Friday night. I'll be there at 7. Okay, Liana said. Thank you. At lunchtime, Liana met Julia and another friend, Mary, for a quick coffee. They discussed not only school, but also the changes of age. Mary said bluntly, My husband and I have been talking like colleagues for the last few years. No arguments, but no substance either. We are trying to get back into the habit of discussing thoughts rather than plans. It's hard. Liana nodded. There were many similarities. She noted that what she missed was not romantic gestures, but simple conversations without watches and screens. On the way home, Liana stopped at the supermarket again for bread and milk. Kaspar was standing at the checkout. He let her go first. That evening, when the three of them were having dinner, Celeste asked, Is it possible to stay on Saturday after the fair and help dismantle the stands? If it doesn't exhaust you, Liana said. I'll help too, Adrian added. I don't have any calls on Saturday. Great, Liana said and smiled. Then we're a team. Thursday was spent on the run. After school, a doctor for Celeste. A line, formalities, a standard examination. The doctor gave recommendations on sleep patterns and screen time. On the way back, Liana bought pizza. She had no energy left to cook. Adrian returned at 8. He ate in silence, then asked, like a doctor, Everything is fine. He said that I need to go to bed earlier and use the phone less before bed. Nothing new, but when it's not my mom who says it, it's easier to hear. I'll talk to her too, he said. Later that evening, they tried to plan Sunday. Liana suggested going to the park for an hour. Adrian said he would do it, but he asked for a time. If we don't record it, it doesn't happen, Liana noted. Agreed, he said. I'm writing. Sunday, park, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. This entry seemed like a small victory, but on Friday morning the forecast came, rain by lunchtime, wind by evening. It was decided not to move the fair, just to put up tents. On Friday, Liana dropped Celeste off at school and headed to the gym where the signs were to be hung. At 7, Adrian showed up as promised. He was carrying boxes, screwing on stands, joking with the volunteers. Liana looked at him from the side and thought that he was still the kind of person who knew how to be reliable. It was just that in recent years, he had been dedicating that reliability more to his work. At home, they had a late dinner. Celeste went to bed. Liana and Adrian were sitting in the kitchen. I understand that you do a lot, Liana said, but I need us to do not only things together, but also talk. Not about the schedule, but about us. He was silent for a moment. It's hard for me to switch, he said without excuse. But I want to. And I see that you're holding down the house. I don't want you to feel alone in this. Then let's start with something simple, Liana said. I agree, he said. I'll set reminders. Saturdays started earlier than usual. The school gym was already bustling at 8. Folding tables were being set up, paper tablecloths were being laid out, volunteers were hauling boxes of books. Liana arrived in sneakers and a sweatshirt, her hair in a bun, a blue top badge on her arm. Adrian promised to help with the unloading until 9. Then he was supposed to take Celeste to choir practice and be back by 11. Where do we put the junior literature? Sarah asked, holding out the box. Over there, next to the windows, Liana answered. Alphabet by the author's last name. The children's ones are on the lower shelves. They worked quickly. The library teacher, Mr. Lopez, brought in a box marked donation. He smiled at Liana. You are a God-given organizer. Without you, we would be drowning in boxes here. Thank you, she said. It's a team effort. She was pleased that someone noticed her efforts. Not like in the chat, not a check mark on the task list, but a simple phrase in the face. At 9, Adrian arrived. He immediately picked up 2 boxes, then another, and began attaching the signs science fiction and non-fiction. He looked focused, but this time he was completely there. "What else?" he asked. "Can you connect the payment terminal?" Liana asked. "It's square, set up for a TA account." "I'll figure it out." He nodded, and after a couple of minutes showed a green check mark on the screen. Done. By 10 o'clock, the hall was filled with families. Children were pulling their parents to the table with baked goods. Someone was trying on jackets at a second-hand store. A school band was playing in the corner. Liana was standing by the books, helping to choose gifts for the little ones, explaining where to find the section for teenagers. "Excuse me, do you have Brave New World?" asked the high school student. "Yes, right there." Liana held out the book. "It's a donation in good condition." The line to the table stretched. Liana accepted payment, smiled, and gave change. Adrian periodically replaced her so that she could drink water. At 11, he took Celeste to rehearsal, promising to return in 40 minutes. At 11:30, Liana caught a glimpse of Adrian talking on the phone at the entrance. He went outside, pacing back and forth. It became noisier inside, and after a few minutes, she forgot about him. Work required attention. When he returned, it was already after 12. "Sorry," he said. "They asked me to clarify some details about the presentation urgently. I'm here again." "It's okay," Liana said, and found herself saying it automatically. She really didn't want to fight. But somewhere deep down she noted, for some people, work is always a priority, even on Saturday in the school gym. By 1 o'clock, the flow had begun to subside. Liana sat on the edge of the table, took off her badge, and drank the rest of her warm coffee. Mr. Lopez approached her. "You've put together a great section for little ones," he said. "The parents have thanked you." "I'm glad to hear it," Liana replied and smiled, not out of politeness, but from genuine satisfaction. Meanwhile, Adrian loaded the remaining boxes into the trunk to take them to the school storage unit. Celeste helped, moving the lighter items. Liana stood nearby, writing down the totals. Proceeds, $724. Remaining, 2 boxes of junior, 3 of teen. Jenny came over and put her arm around Liana. "You're great. Without you, we would have failed." "The team is great," Liana said again. It really was important to her that it wasn't just her. By 3 o'clock, the fair was over. They drove home in silence. Everyone was tired. Adrian suggested buying pizza on the way. "I'll stop by," he said. "Unload the books. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Liana parked near the house. Celeste immediately ran to the shower. Liana opened the trunk, took the first box. Then Caspar came out of the neighboring yard. "Need a hand?" he asked, as if he was passing by. "Yes," Liana said without thinking. "These are the books from the fair. Some of them are in the garage, and tomorrow I'll take them to the storage facility." "Give it to me." He lifted the box easily. "How much longer?" "3," said Liana. "Thank you." They went down to the garage. It was cool and smelled of wood. Liana pointed to a place on the shelf. Caspar carefully put the box down. "How did it go?" he asked. "Good. Lots of people. I was on the books," she answered. "Tired, but happy." "I see," he said. "Satisfied is a rare word at the end of Saturday." Liana chuckled. "Today, yes," she said. They carried the last box. Caspar straightened up and rubbed his neck with his palm. "If you need, I can come by tomorrow and help you transport it. I have cargo straps," he offered. "I can handle it," Liana replied. "But thank you. It's good that you were nearby." He nodded, not holding his gaze. At that moment, Adrian drove up with pizza. He waved the boxes out the window. "Dinner is ready," he said, getting out of the car. "Thank you for your help," Liana said to her neighbor. "Go ahead," Caspar replied and went to his room. They ate dinner in silence for about 5 minutes. Then Celeste perked up and started listing the people she had seen at the fair, how someone had been short on change at the bakery table, and how their book stand had appealed to Mrs. Grant, the English teacher. She said she wanted to do a separate poetry section next time. Celeste said. It wasn't enough. We will, Liana answered and looked at Adrian. You helped well today. Thank you. Please, he said. And sorry for calling. I had to go out so as not to disturb you. I understand, she said, and this time there was no irritation in her voice, but a simple statement. You and I have to clear out the garage on Sunday for a history project. I remember, he replied. At 11 the park, at 1 the garage. In the evening, Celeste went into her room and turned on some soft music. Adrian sat down with his laptop in the living room, not to work, but to print out sheets for a project. Liana took out the trash. It was cool on the sidewalk. She paused for a moment, looking at a street lamp. At that moment, her phone vibrated. I hope your back didn't fall off after the boxes. If you need it, I have some good compresses. I can bring them, Caspar wrote. Liana looked at the message. She replied briefly, Thank you, everything is okay. We managed. Pause, and added, and thanks for helping with the transfer. The answer came, You're welcome. It turned out to be a good stand. I saw how you managed the process. It's impressive. Liana stopped there. She didn't specify when he had managed to see it. Perhaps he had stopped by on business and dropped in. That wasn't the main thing. These words came at a time when she herself was tired and no longer expected anyone to notice her contribution. She put the phone away and went back into the house. In the living room, Adrian was trying to set up the printer. He's asking for renewal again, he said, as if he knew Sunday was coming. If it doesn't work out, we'll print it out at the library, said Liana. I'll figure it out, he replied, and a couple of minutes later, he managed to print a test page. Yes. They watched a B-movie just to avoid talking about business. Then they went to bed. On Sunday, they made it to the park. They walked around, talked about school, about the choir's autumn concert. Celeste walked between them and told them how a running coach explained breathing. Then they dismantled part of the garage, found old photos. Adrian showed a box with his great-grandmother's documents. Celeste was captivated. It was a good day without breakdowns. But in the evening, everything returned to its usual rhythm. Adrian checked his work email for a minute, stayed at the laptop for another 20. Liana did not make a remark. She simply noted it as a fact that again turned out to be stronger than plans. On Monday afternoon, Liana sat on the porch with a cup of tea. It was sunny, but not hot. Her phone beeped. A text from Jenny with the results of the fair. Raised $11,420, books $1,980. Thank you, Liana smiled. A minute later, another text came in from the family center, reminding her about the course. And almost simultaneously, a short one from Caspar. How was Sunday Garage? Did you find any stories for the project? She froze for a second. She replied, We found it. Great-grandmother's documents, letters. Celeste is interested. Thank you for asking. She put the phone next to her. It was clear that he was not pestering, not pressuring. He was asking simple things and listening. And this was a sharp contrast to how often they spoke in short sentences about the schedule at home. That evening, when the three of them were having dinner, Liana said, I thought about inviting my mother on Sunday. She wants to see Celeste. Okay, Adrian said. I'll have a barbecue if the weather permits. Great, Liana said. And one more thing. I want to try going to the gym once a week in the morning. An hour. I need my time. That's reasonable, he said. Pick a day, I'll adjust. The phrase, I'll adjust, sounded different than I'll try. Liana noted this and decided not to drag the conversation out into an argument about the nuances. She simply said, Thank you. Wednesday was warm and dry. After school, Celeste went to her friends to prepare a number for the autumn concert, promising to be back by 7. Adrian said in the morning that he had a busy day and warned, I might stay until late evening. Liana planned a couple of hours in the yard to get the fence story moving. She got a box of tools from the hallway, pulled on work gloves, and pulled out a grinder. The yard was quiet. The neighboring plots were trimming bushes. Someone was yelling at a dog. Somewhere a garage door clicked. Liana turned on the grinder, went over the first board, then the second. Dust settled in a thin layer on the sneakers. She worked steadily so as not to overheat the tool. By the 30-minute mark, the grinder began to act up. Liana turned it off and checked the wire. Everything was fine. Another try, the motor jerked and died down. Perfect, she said out loud, without anger, more as a statement. From the neighboring side came the following. The battery is overheated. Let it cool down. Kaspar's voice sounded calm. He was standing on the other side of the fence with a can of fasteners in his hand. In a work t-shirt with construction glasses on his forehead. I saw a wire. I thought it was from the network, said Liana. It's the battery. It's temperamental. I'll bring a spare one, he replied. No need, she tried to stop him. I'll wait. No time tasks today. It's 2 minutes, he said and went to his room. Liana took off her gloves, wiped her neck with a paper towel, and checked her phone. A message from Adrian. The meeting ran late. Don't wait for dinner. Love. She stared at the love as if it were an object whose place was known but which had not been used for a long time. She replied, Got it. We're fine. Call when you go home. Kaspar returned a couple of minutes later with another battery and a wedge to secure the boards. Try this, he said, sitting down by the fence. Another piece of advice. Remove the old paint to a smooth surface, otherwise the new one will lie in patches. Thank you, said Liana. I've seen the videos, but in reality it's more complicated. The videos are lying, he chuckled. In reality, everything takes longer, but it's more reliable. He held the board while she drove the machine. The work began again. They were silent, exchanging short phrases like, 1 more centimeter, holding, moving on to the next one. The sun was sinking toward the horizon. The air was getting cooler. By 6, they had sanded a large segment. That's enough for today, said Liana. I'll paint the first layer tomorrow. I can give you a long-handled bolster. Your shoulders will thank you, Kaspar replied. I'd be grateful, she said. I'll return everything on Friday. No rush. I'm not going anywhere, he smiled briefly, without a hint. Liana dusted her jacket and shook out her gloves. Her phone vibrated. Celeste will be at Catherine's until 7:30. I'll pick her up myself. Another message came from Adrian. I'll be back closer to 10. Sorry. Is everything okay? Kaspar asked, seeing her look. Yes, Liana answered. My husband is late. My daughter is at a friend's. I'll think about what to do in the meantime. I can bring you some lemonade. You can rest for 10 minutes and then pick up Celeste, he offered. Lemonade is safer than coffee in the evening, Liana smiled. Thank you. They sat on her porch. He set down a glass bottle and 2 low mugs. Liana felt the muscles in her arms ache, but not unpleasantly. It was understandable fatigue. The street smelled of wood and grass. Have you moved to this street for a long time? She asked, to break the silence. 2 years. After the divorce, he said without drama. My ex-wife and I separated peacefully. She has our daughter, and I have her every other weekend. I work nearby, so I chose this neighborhood. I see, said Liana. Everything is more stable here, but sometimes it seems like we live like neighbors on a schedule. It happens, he said. My parents have been married for 40 years. They say that the hardest period is when everything seems to be working, but the feelings stop being visible. It's as if they need to be put back in a visible place. They went to a consultant. It helped. We signed up for a course at the family center, Liana said, about boundaries and respect, in 2 weeks. Good idea, he nodded. She didn't pursue the topic. He didn't ask any unnecessary questions either. That suited her. Liana finished her lemonade and looked at her watch. I have to go get Celeste, she said. Thanks for the battery and the drink. You're welcome, he replied. If you like, I can put a bolster by your door this evening when I get back from the garage. Put it by the porch, I'll pick it up, said Liana. She went to pick up her daughter and returned at 7:40. Celeste brought a container of cookies. We were practicing, she said. I'll take it to the teachers at school tomorrow. Great, Liana said. Get changed, and dinner is in 15 minutes. They ate together. Pasta, salad, some cheese from the market. Celeste talked about the choir and argued with her mother about whether it was possible to ride a bike to rehearsal on Thursday. They agreed that it was possible if it didn't rain and if she put on a vest with reflective stripes. At 9:30, a bolster arrived, carefully left by the door. Liana took it and put it in the hallway. 10 minutes later, Adrian said, I'm on my way. Don't wake Celeste. Liana replied, okay. When the house was quiet, Liana went out into the garden. She wanted to check how the area looked in the evening light, where she would start painting tomorrow. Kaspar was in his garage. The door was open. The lamp was on. He was sorting something into boxes. Seeing Liana, he waved his hand. Want to see some color samples? He asked. If you've already decided on color, it's best to choose today so you don't have to go to the store in the morning. Liana thought for a moment. There was a feeling inside of her, don't drag this out. But that was about the paint, not the people. She nodded. For 5 minutes, she said. The garage was neat. The tools hung on the pegboard wall. On the table were paint whisks and a set of sample cards. Cedar, sand, light walnut. Light colors work well for a fence, said Kaspar. They fade less and imperfections are less visible. But it's a matter of taste. I want it to look calm, Liana said, not flashy. They laid out the 3 cards on the table, moved closer to the open doorway to see them in natural light. He stood next to her, holding 1 card, she holding 2. Their shoulders almost touched. Liana took a step back. Sand is neutral, she said. It fits the house. Agreed. Then tomorrow a roller, tape, and sand, he said. I have an open can. Enough for the first layer. Take it if you don't mind. Thank you, said Liana. I'll buy a new one and return it to you so as not to remain in debt. You don't owe me anything, he said calmly. This is just a neighbor helping out. He spoke evenly, without a second meaning. But the air inside the garage became denser. Liana responded to this with caution. She put the cards aside and adjusted her sleeve. I have to go, she said. I'll start early tomorrow, before it gets too hot. Liana, he said quietly, I don't want to cause trouble. If I cross the line, tell me. She looked straight at him. You're not crossing, she said. I have to look after my own. He nodded. This answer did not relieve tension, but indicated responsibility. On her way out, Liana caught her palm on the wooden edge of the table. A splinter went under her skin. She took a sharp breath. Wait, said Kaspar, and took a small set of tweezers and antiseptic from the drawer. Give me your hand. I'll be careful. She held out her hand, holding her breath. He brought the light closer, pulled out the splinter with a quick movement, applied a napkin, and dripped antiseptic. It's done, he said. Here's the patch. Thank you, she said. It's awkward. It's a small thing. He paused for a second, and in that look there was not curiosity, but concern. They stood close. For a second it seemed like there was no time. Liana knew that her next reaction would set the direction. She hadn't planned anything like this. But fatigue, recognition, the warm light of the lamp, and the absence of adult conversation at home came together in one step. She leaned in first. The kiss was brief. It was neither harsh nor drawn out, just a fact. Kaspar responded, but then retreated. Stop, he said quietly. I don't want you to regret this. I already regret it, Liana said just as quietly. And yet it still happened. They were silent. A car drove by outside, its headlights sliding along the wall. Liana took a step back. I'll go, she said. I agree, he said. She walked out of the garage, across the lawn, and up to the porch of her house. Her heart was beating fast, not from romance, but from the sense of scale. There was a bolster in the hallway. She brought it inside, washed her hands, and looked at the bandage. Her phone blinked. "I'm home," Adrian wrote. The door opened. He walked in, tired but gentle. "Sorry I'm late," he said. "I brought some cupcakes from the office. Leftovers from the rally." "Put it on the table," Liana said, keeping her voice even. "I'll be home early tomorrow. I'll start painting the fence. If you can, help with Celeste in the morning." "I can," he said. "I'll take her to school, and you can start calmly." "Thank you," she said. That night, Liana couldn't fall asleep for a long time. There were two parallel processes in her head, one about her and Adrian having a family, the other about her allowing herself to take a step that couldn't be explained by everyday reasons. The week after the sand fence did not go according to schedule. During the day, Liana did her usual things. In the evening, she tried to stick to family agreements. In between, something appeared that was not part of any plan. On Monday, she finished the second coat of paint and called the library to confirm a print time for Celeste's project. Then she stopped by her mother's in another neighborhood, brought her soup, and picked up the containers. On the way, she received a short text from Caspar. "The color went on evenly. The view from my side is great." Liana replied, "Thanks for the roller. I'll return it this afternoon." She added, "No texts during the day, is that a deal?" He wrote, "Fair enough." She thought she was in control. But that evening she broke her own rule. She sent a photo of a fence in the sunlight. He liked it and didn't write anything else. It was even worse, because the lack of words left room for thoughts. Tuesday began with a back-to-school night, an evening for parents. Teachers gave short presentations on subjects. Liana asked Adrian in advance to come at 7. He answered in the morning, "I will, I put it in the calendar." Celeste spent the whole day preparing the choir's stand with the concert schedule for the guests. Liana stopped by the hardware store to buy a new can of paint, as she had promised. In the paint department, she met Caspar at the brush rack. They hadn't agreed on anything. "I'm getting some door seals," he said. "I've got some gaps by the garage." "I'm going to get a replacement can," Liana said, holding the receipt. "I promised." "You don't owe me anything," he repeated, "but I understand." He kept his distance. They exchanged a few words about the weather and drying times. Liana paid at the checkout and immediately wrote herself a reminder to return the jar that same day. She was afraid that the unreturned items would become a reason for a meeting. Liana and Celeste arrived at school at 6 o'clock. The hallways were filled with parents. Geography projects were hanging on the stands. Liana looked at her watch. 6:55. No message from Adrian. She thought he was on his way. At the first presentation, the history teacher talked about project deadlines. Liana wrote in her notebook, "In 3 weeks." At the second, the English teacher explained the essay criteria. In the hallway, she met Mr. Lopez. "Good to see you," he said. "Your daughter is a good helper. She held the line better than some adults on Saturday." Liana smiled. She was proud of Celeste. She looked at her phone again, empty. On the third presentation, a message came. "Stuck in the office. Sorry. Tell me everything at home." Liana reread and hid the phone. After the meetings, she and Celeste walked to the choir stand. Girls in blue sweatshirts were offering flyers. Liana took 2. Celeste said, "Dad won't come. It won't work today," Liana answered. "He asked me to tell him." Celeste nodded. She hadn't meant to make a scene, but a familiar look of disappointment flashed in her eyes. At home, Liana briefly recounted to Adrian what the teachers had said. He listened, but answered dryly, "I'll be back next time," and picked up the phone again. Liana felt the power of the conversation go into the wall. On Wednesday morning, Celeste was kept after school for rehearsal. Liana decided to stop by the local library to print out materials and take books on family conversations. She chose 2, Conversations with Teens and No Scandal House Rules. On the way out, she was stopped by the librarian. "We have a parents' club meeting on Saturday," she said. "You're welcome to come." Liana wrote down the time. She felt that she was looking for support that did not depend on someone's mood. On the way from the library, a message came from Caspar. "I can pick up the jar tonight. I'll be there at 7. Liana wanted to leave the jar by the door so as not to cross paths. She wrote, "I'll put it by the door. You can pick it up." He replied, "I'll take it for granted." By 7, Liana had put the jar on the porch and gone into the kitchen. She had been washing dishes on purpose, so as not to look out the window, but the sound of footsteps on the porch and a short knock on the railing still made her heart speed up. She didn't go to open it. A minute later, a message came. "Thank you. Keep the roller for now. It works better for you." She didn't answer. On Thursday morning, Adrian wrote, "I have dinner with a client. We'll be back late." Liana put dinner without husband on her calendar. Celeste suggested watching an old movie together. They bought ice cream on the way, laid out a blanket on the couch, and turned on the movie. At 9, Liana received a quick photo from Julia at the family center, a new poster for the course they were signed up for. "Are you sure you're coming?" Julia wrote. Liana replied, "Yes, we need to." At 10 o'clock, a text came from Caspar. "If you want to walk on the sidewalk for 10 minutes, I'll put a lamp by the garage. No talking, just air." Liana held the phone in her hand. She knew the offer wasn't neutral, but it wasn't direct either. She wrote, "Not today. Daughter's home." He replied, "Got it. Good night." Friday brought a new layer of lies. In the morning, Liana wrote to Adrian, "I'll stop by the school storage after lunch. I'll help you unpack the boxes." This was half true. She really was going to drop off a couple of boxes of books. But she knew that after the storage, she had decided to stop at a small coffee shop on the outskirts, where acquaintances rarely went. There, she and Caspar had agreed to meet for 15 minutes without plans. She drove up to the school, handed over her books, and signed for them with the guard. At 3:20 p.m., she was already parking at the coffee shop. It smelled of cinnamon inside. Caspar was sitting by the window. He stood up when she entered. "It's usually empty here," he said. "I sometimes come before departures." "I can't sit for long," Liana said. "I have dinner at home with Celeste." "I don't plan for long," he replied. They had coffee. They sat down. The first minutes were silent. Then Liana said, "I need to say it out loud. I'm married. I have a daughter. I don't intend to destroy the house. I don't intend to leave my husband. And I don't intend to build a parallel family." "I'm not asking," he said. "I don't want to be the cause of destruction. I'm an adult. I understand that you're an adult too, and you make your own decisions." "Then I'll tell you the second part," Liana continued. "I didn't close my eyes to what happened between us. That's a fact. But I don't want a habit to grow out of a fact." "I agree," he said. "Then what remains?" "I don't know," Liana said honestly. "Maybe nothing. Maybe short conversations that help me get my thoughts in order. But that's dangerous too." "If it's dangerous, don't do it," he said. "I can handle it." "I'm not looking for permission," Liana said. "I'm trying to understand myself. I miss simple conversations at home. Not about the schedule, but about us. It works with you because you don't have any complaints. It's not fair. It's easy for you to be understanding when you're not responsible with us." "Yes," he said. "It's not a fair position. I understand that." They sat for another minute. Liana stood up. "I have to go," she said. "Thanks for the coffee. Now I'm taking a break until the course at the family center. Maybe it will help me." "Good plan," he said. "I won't write. Good luck." Liana stopped at the exit. She understood that this might be their last meeting alone. She thought about leaving without gestures, but she hugged him briefly anyway, without continuation, without trying to repeat the garage. Then she left. In the evening, Adrian came at 7. He brought a burrito from a Mexican cafe. Celeste laughed at a video of her friend's puppy. Dinner went easily. After the dishes, Liana suggested a walk around the block. Adrian put on his jacket. They walked side by side. "I'm thinking about the environment," she said. "About the course. I want us not just to come and listen, but to try to speak honestly there. It's important to me." "I agree," he said. "I'm tired of half solutions too. I want to understand how we can build a normal connection between us when there's no time. I understand that it depends on me no less than on you." "Yes," she said. "And one more thing. I don't want you to learn about important school events from my retellings. It's destroying us. Your presence is important to me, not as a report, but as a fact." "You're right," he said. "I blew Tuesday. I'm not making excuses. I'm going to change it." They walked the block in silence. This silence was not empty, but working. At home, Liana wrote down in her calendar, Tuesday Celeste Choir, 6 p.m. She invited her mother for Sunday. Sunday promised to be quiet, without any big plans. Saturday started with a parent club at the library. Julia and 5 others were there. A family center counselor led the meeting. The conversation was about family rules without threats. The counselor suggested writing the rule on paper and sticking it on the refrigerator. "Let everyone sign it," she said. Liana wrote it down. After the club, she stopped at the supermarket. Caspar was in the row with the dairy. They saw each other. He nodded. No messages, no stops. Liana took the milk and went to the checkout. Her heart was calm. It was right. On Sunday, the 3 of them hosted Liana's mother. Adrian grilled chicken, Celeste showed a history project. At the table, they discussed who would go to Grandma's for the holidays when. In the evening, Liana hung a sheet of paper on the refrigerator, family agreements. At the bottom, there were 3 signatures. She looked at the sheet and felt that it was not protection from everything, but it was a real step. At night, when Liana was already going to bed, her phone blinked. 2 notifications came at the same time. From the family center with a reminder about Wednesday, and from an unknown number a short, "Hello." She opened it. It was Adrian's work chat, forwarded by mistake to the family channel. He immediately deleted it and wrote, "Sorry, wrong place." Liana smiled. She thought it was better to receive random work messages than empty space. She turned off her phone. It was clear in her head. There were now 2 lines in her day. One was family and the course, the entry on the refrigerator, the parents' club. The other was caution, so as not to turn someone else's participation into a life preserver. She chose the first, but she understood that the second was not going anywhere. This is a double life when you try to cover one deficit in another way. Monday started normally, but little things were wrong. Liana put her phone face down, something she didn't always do. A notification bar flashed on the screen, and she immediately swiped her finger to block it. Adrian was pouring coffee and noticed something new. A different code appeared on the phone before. It opened with Face ID without delay. Now Liana held it closer to her face, covering it with her hand. "You change your password every 3 days?" he tried to joke. "After the news of the break-ins," she said shortly, "it's calmer this way." He nodded and didn't argue. Celeste went downstairs, got a banana and a lunchbox. On the fridge was a sheet of paper labeled Family Agreements with 3 signatures. It looked right. But the phone, placed face down, was a constant reminder that right wasn't enough. Adrian had an office during the day. He went out to the parking lot late in the afternoon and texted Liana, "Going to be late. Maybe pick up dinner on the way." She replied a minute later, "Okay, I'll stop by the school storage unit, then head home." He got in his car and drove along his usual route. At the little coffee shop on the corner, Maple and Main, he wasn't used to slamming on the brakes, but his eye caught a familiar dark blue Toyota parked outside. There were plenty of them in the area, but the license plate matched. He drove past without stopping. He figured Liana might have stopped at the storage unit to get coffee. That made sense. But he still wondered why she'd texted straight home. At home, Celeste was doing algebra. Adrian put the burrito bags on the table and asked, "Is Mom back?" "About 10 minutes ago." I went to take a shower and said there was dust in the storage room. Liana came out a few minutes later in a sweatshirt. Her hair was damp, and she smelled of lemon gel. She kissed Celeste on the top of her head and Adrian on the cheek. "Have you been to Maple and Maine?" he asked calmly, as if he was interested in the menu. "Yes," she answered without pause. "After the storage, I stopped for coffee. It was empty." He nodded. He asked no more questions. Dinner went smoothly. The phones were in the kitchen, the rule was followed. But when Liana was clearing the dishes, her phone screen briefly flashed. He didn't have time to read the name, the notification line disappeared. Later, Adrian was sorting laundry. A crumpled piece of paper fell out of Liana's jacket pocket. He picked it up, a receipt from Maple and Maine. 2 cappuccinos, 1 lemon muffin. The time was 3:22 p.m. He squeezed the receipt and put it back. Nothing criminal. But the 2 somehow stung. He tried to brush it off. She could have bought 2, taken 1 home, and had 1 there. The muffin was for Celeste. The conversation would have been simple if it hadn't felt like he was making excuses. On Tuesday morning, at the mailboxes on the corner, he ran into Caspar. Caspar said hello and straightened his baseball cap. "The color of the fence went well," said Caspar. "Good choice." "Thank you," Adrian replied dryly. "We all tried." "If you need a ladder, I have a convenient one," he added in a normal tone. "We have our own," said Adrian. There was nothing superfluous in the words, but Adrian did not like it when someone was too aware of their yard. He walked home and thought that irritation could be trivial and still an indicator. In the evening, they had dinner together. Celeste talked about choir rehearsal. The no phones rule was observed, but Liana kept her smartphone on the kitchen table under a napkin so that the screen was not visible. After dinner, she took it and carried it to the bedroom. Previously, she left it charging near the living room. "Let's go to the library's parent club on Saturday," she said as she walked. "There's a new topic there about control and trust." "Okay," said Adrian. "I want to go too." On Wednesday, the first meeting of the course was at the family center. They walked. There were 10 families in a room with a circle of chairs. The leader suggested an exercise. 2 minutes we talk, the other listens. Liana talked about time, about how she feels heard only when plans become common. Adrian talked about how he has a habit of closing tasks instead of just being there. The exercise was going well. At some point, Liana's phone vibrated. She put it deeper in her bag without looking. Adrian noted how fast and habitual this movement was. Not a scandal, just a movement. After the meeting, he suggested, "Ice cream? There's a Ben and Jerry's nearby." "I'm tired," Liana answered. "Let's go home. I have to go to the library in the morning." He didn't insist. At home, Liana went into the bedroom, wrote someone a short message, and put her phone in the nightstand drawer. Usually, it was on charge. On Thursday morning, Adrian picked up her car for an oil change. His sedan was in the shop. He searched the glove compartment for his insurance and found a small packet of bandages and hydrogen peroxide in a mini ampoule. They didn't have any of those at home. It could have been a drugstore kit, nothing special. But there was a piece of paper with a color chart for SAN 2133 stamped by a hardware store. He sighed. It all made sense. A fence, a splinter, a first aid kit. And yet the overall picture was not reassuring. During the day at work, a colleague asked, "Are we going for a beer today?" Adrian had already written yes, then erased it. He didn't want to leave Liana and Celeste alone. He went home. He stopped at the supermarket, bought fish and a salad. No one was home. On the table was a note. "We're at the library. We'll be back by 6. Next to it was a jar of markers and a list of great-grandmother's projects. He smiled. It seemed right. Liana and Celeste returned at 6:15. Celeste was talking excitedly about the photo archive. Liana was smiling, but it was a tired smile. The phone in her hand blinked briefly. She pressed the lock button and put it in her pocket. During dinner, Adrian started talking. "My sister's for lunch on Sunday. She's inviting." "Go ahead," Liana said. Just let me know in advance so I can plan. I'm warning you, he nodded. After dinner, he suggested going for a walk. Liana said, I'm passing today. My head is buzzing. Celeste went to do her homework. Adrian went out alone and walked around the block. As he was returning, he saw the light on near Kaspar's garage. The door was half open. All he could see was a silhouette leaning over the table. Nothing out of the ordinary. Adrian caught himself looking longer than he should have and quickened his pace. Friday brought a short quarrel. In the morning, Liana collected the containers, put the bag by the door. Adrian asked, where will you be after school today? At the library, then at the supermarket, she said. Why? I just want to understand. I can stop by for dinner. You don't need to check me by the hour. Her voice became harsher. I didn't sign up for reports. I'm not checking, he said. I'm trying to be involved. Then ask not, where will you be, but what to buy for dinner, she snapped and went into the garage. The phrase was painful because it contained a grain of truth, but it did not relieve his anxiety. He worked with difficulty during the day. By evening, he decided he would take the next Friday off, at least something concrete. In the evening, the three of them had dinner. The conversations were neutral. The phones were in another room. After dinner, Liana went to take a shower. Her bag was in the kitchen. There was a short ding from inside. Adrian did not open it. A rule is a rule. But his thoughts ran faster than the rules. When Liana returned, he said, let's try to agree on something else. If someone writes to you in the evening, I don't want to be the last one to know that you have important conversations. I don't have important conversations, she said. I have friends and chats, and I have the right to answer when it suits me. I'm not arguing with the law, he said. I'm asking you not to keep me outside. And I ask you not to go inside without an invitation, she replied. These are different things. They fell silent. He didn't sleep that night. He lay there and tried to sort out the facts in his head. The coffee shop, 2 cappuccinos, the medicine cabinet, Maple and Maine, the phone in the drawer. Everything could be explained. The irritation with the neighbor at the post office could also be explained. But overall, it no longer seemed like a collection of coincidences. On Saturday morning, they went to a parent club. The topic, as luck would have it, was control and trust. The host said something simple. If you want trust, leave room for personal space. If you want transparency, show how you create it yourself. Adrian wrote down, speak without accusations, specific facts, feelings separately. He decided to talk evenly in the evening, without hints and checks. In the afternoon, they stopped by Liana's mother to take some groceries. Her mother asked about school for a long time and praised Celeste. On the way back, Liana asked, are you going to take a day off next week? Yes, he said, on Friday. Okay, she replied. I'll plan dinner for the three of us. In the evening, when Celeste went to her friends for the night, Adrian put on the tea and said, I need to say this without arguing. I noticed things that bother me. I saw your car at Maple and Maine when you texted that you were going home. I found a receipt for 2 cappuccinos. I feel like your phone is locked. I'm not accusing. I'm saying it makes me feel bad. Liana was silent for a few seconds. Then she said, I was there. I drank my coffee and got another one to go. Yes, I block my phone more often. After one story with a chat where someone else's child accidentally read the messages, I don't have to keep my phone open for you to feel better, but I have to take into account your state. I hear that you are not feeling well. I'm not asking for passwords, he said. I'm asking not to have to put together a picture of receipts. Then let's do it this way, she said. If I'm delayed or change my route, I write it down. Not a report, but information. And you do the same, and without mutual interrogations. He nodded. It was a compromise that did little to heal, but it gave form. They both needed form. Before going to bed, Liana put the phone on the nightstand, not in the drawer. The screen glowed like it was charging. He felt relief, but not confidence. The suspicions were still there. He just put them aside. After dinner, Liana checked the list for the fair. Celeste finished drawing the scheme for the project. Adrian laid out old photos of his great-grandmother on the table. The phones were in the kitchen, as they had agreed. Nothing foreshadowed the evening's deviations. "Dad, can I print this on my iPad?" Celeste asked, showing the collage. "Sure," Adrian said. "I'll connect the printer and send it." The iPad was in the living room, a shared one for household chores. Adrian opened it, swiped the screen, and linked it to the printer. A notification popped up on the panel at the top. Messages. There was no last name, just K. The preview showed the line, "I promised not to text, but I'm worried about you. Hang in there. I'll be by the garage if you need me." The time was 10 minutes ago. Adrian froze. He pressed the seal, looked up at the kitchen door, and heard Liana laugh at Celeste's answer. He opened the messages. There were few lines in the correspondence. The recent ones were restrained and short. "I'll leave a bolster by the door. Thank you. Coffee on Friday for 15 minutes. No names, no hearts. But a little higher, a week ago, a short phrase from Caspar. "I won't take the next step unless you want me to." Even higher, "Garage. Sorry for the splinter. Hope it doesn't hurt." He didn't look any further. A wave of anger and some clear understanding rose up inside him. Something he was afraid to name had happened. He closed the iPad, took the printed sheets, and returned to the kitchen. "It's ready," he said, handing it to Celeste. "Thank you, Dad." She hugged him and ran into the room. They were left alone. Adrian placed his palms on the table. "Who is Kay?" he asked calmly, without drama. Liana looked at him and realized that there was no way around him. "Neighbor," she said. "Caspar. He's worried about you from the garage." His voice remained even, but his fingers clenched. Liana inhaled. "We had a moment. One. In the garage. We kissed. I stopped it. After that, I said I didn't want to continue." The words hung in the air evenly and heavily. Adrian was silent for a few seconds. Then he said, "When was this?" "Last Wednesday evening," she answered. "You were at work until late." "Were you going to tell me?" he asked. "Yes, during the course or on the weekend. I didn't make excuses. I don't know how." She paused. "I knew it would ruin everything." "He wrote to you," Adrian said, "and you met for coffee." "We met once. For 15 minutes. I said I wouldn't continue this. I don't want to leave my family." He nodded. It seemed like he had already formulated these phrases in his head in advance. He was just waiting for confirmation. "Celeste's home," he said quietly. "Let's not shout. I'm going away for the night. But first I'm going to talk to him." "Adrian." Liana stood up. "Please, no scene. This is our neighbor. The daughter is sleeping." "I'm not going to make a scene," he said. "I'll say what I have to say." He took his jacket and went out. It was cool outside. The light was on in the garage across the street. Adrian crossed the street without ringing the bell. The door was ajar. Caspar was standing at the workbench, sorting through boxes of fasteners. He straightened up when he saw Adrian. "Evening," he said calmly. "Did something happen?" "It happened," Adrian said. "I know about the garage and your messages. I'm not going to discuss the details. I came to say, stay away from my wife and my family. No friendly gestures, no, I'm here, no bolster by the door. This is not a request." Caspar paused. "I understand," he said. "I won't write. And yes, I have a responsibility here. I'm not making excuses." "Okay," Adrian said. "One more thing. If I see you trying to come into our lives again, even under the guise of helping around the yard, I will react harshly. Without physical violence, but officially. With a statement to the Residents Association, with a complaint. It's important to me that this ends." "Accepted," nodded Caspar. "I won't cross paths with you. And tell Liana that well, don't say anything. I'll disappear from the frame." "I'll just say what I said," Adrian replied. They stood opposite each other for a second. No pushing, no show of emotion. Adrian turned and left. Liana met him on the porch. She looked like someone who hadn't slept for an hour, even though it had been 10 minutes. "Thank you for not causing a scandal," she said quietly. "I'm at my sister's," he replied. "Tell Celeste I have an early call and I'm staying over at Kara's. I'll pick her up from school tomorrow afternoon. We'll talk tonight." "Okay," she said. "I'll unpack my things in the guest room." "There's no need to sort anything out yet," he snapped. "I haven't made any decisions. I'm just leaving for the night so I don't break down." He picked up his bag, threw in a couple of t-shirts and a charger, and walked out to the car. Before closing the door, he looked at the house. The kitchen was lit, and Celeste's bedside lamp was on. He set off. He showed up at his sister's without warning. Kara opened the door in a robe with a mug of tea. "Are you okay?" she asked immediately, without playing. "What happened?" "No," he said. "Can I have the sofa?" "Of course," she stepped aside. "Do you want to talk now?" "No," he sat up tiredly. "In the morning." Kara brought a blanket. "I'm not touching you," she said. "Just know that I'm here." He barely slept that night. Scenes, words, text messages with K replayed in his head. Several times he caught himself thinking that he wanted to write Liana a long list of accusations. He opened the screen, typed 3 words, and erased them. In the end, he wrote only a short one. "I'll pick up Celeste at 3:30. She replied, "Okay." The morning was mechanical. He went to the office, turned on the machine, letters, tasks, calls. Kara called at lunchtime. "I'm not trying to pry," she said. "It's just that if you want, I have a contact for a family therapist. Her name is Dr. Patel. She's a good one. We went to her when Mike and I were going through a crisis." "Take it off," he said. "I can't promise I'll go, but take it off." At 3:30, he was standing at the side entrance of the school. Celeste ran out with a folder. "Hello," she said happily. "We learned to sing in 3 voices today. Mom's pies are on the list for Friday." "Cool," he said. "Let's go get ice cream in front of the house." "Yes," Celeste smiled. "And can Mom?" "Mom's home," he said. "We'll bring it to her." They stopped at Ben and Jerry's and got 3 drinks. Liana met them at the door. She was collected, but her eyes were tired. Celeste immediately began to talk about the rehearsal. Liana listened attentively and laughed at the right places. When her daughter went to her room, they stayed in the kitchen. "I called the family center," Liana said first. "They have a therapist who works with couples. Dr. Patel. She sees us Monday and Thursday evenings. I made an appointment for us for Monday at 7. If you don't agree, I'll cancel." "Kara gave me Dr. Patel's contact information too," Adrian replied. "So that's a sign. I'll come." He sat up. His hands were shaking, but his voice was already more even. "Tell me straight," he continued. "Was it one kiss? Or did you go on?" "One," said Liana. "I don't sleep with him. I don't joke with words. It happened, and I stopped it." Then coffee to close the subject. "It's my choice and my fault." "Why did it happen at all?" he asked. "Not out of curiosity. I need to know what's broken." "I felt empty," she replied. "I'm not blaming you. I'm talking about myself. I got used to you being busy, and I started looking for conversations where they arose. These are not excuses. These are descriptions. I crossed boundaries. I don't want to build a parallel life, and I understand that what I said may not change anything." He nodded, his chest still burning, but the words fell into place. "We need to live apart during therapy," he said. "At least for a couple of weeks. I'm at Kara's. We'll make a schedule for Celeste. No chaos." "I agree," Liana said. "I'll make a chart. Who's dropping off, who's picking up, who's having dinner. I don't want Celeste to see our mess." "And one more thing," he added. "You'll tell him to stay out of our orbit. No help around the house, no greetings. I've already told him that. I want you to make that clear too." "I'll tell you," she nodded. "And I'll limit his routes. I'll avoid the coffee shops and stores where he frequents." "That sounds like a plan," he said. A plan is the only thing I can stand right now. Together, they made a schedule for the next 2 weeks. They punched in the calendar, Dr. Patel Monday, 7 p.m. Liana wrote a short message to Kaspar. We will need distance. No meetings, no help, no correspondence. Please respect that. The answer came a minute later. I understand. I will not write anymore. In the evening, they told Celeste that Dad would be staying with Aunt Cara for a couple of weeks because of work and late phone calls. They didn't dramatize it, but promised that all school matters would remain unchanged. Celeste frowned, but didn't ask any unnecessary questions. She was concerned about specifics: who would take her to the choir, who would come to the concert. When Celeste fell asleep, Liana came to the door. Thank you for agreeing to therapy, she said. I don't know where this will lead, he answered honestly, but I have to try for Celeste's sake, and to understand where we are. I may not be able to forgive. I don't promise results. I promise to come and talk. That's fair, Liana said. I don't expect quick answers. He took the jacket. I'll pick up my things tomorrow. Then Monday, Dr. Patel, he said. Until then, just organizational matters. I can't handle discussing feelings over correspondence. Okay, she nodded. He walked to the car. It was quiet outside. The lights in the garage across the street were out. Adrian got behind the wheel, and for the first time in 24 hours, felt like he had at least one support the exact time of the meeting on the calendar. Liana closed the door and leaned her palm against it. The house was clean, quiet, and empty. She put the iPad away in a drawer, turned off the sound on her phone, and took the sheet of paper, family agreements, from the refrigerator. The paper still had 3 signatures. She put the sheet in a folder with documents for now. Now there will be different rules and a different schedule. Dr. Patel's appointment was on Monday at 7. The office was on the second floor of a small business center, and the hallway smelled of coffee. 2 couples were sitting in the waiting area, no one talking. Liana and Adrian greeted the receptionist and sat on the sofa at the end. Between them was a table with magazines. Dr. Patel met them at the door of her office, short, about 45, wearing a simple suit. Inside were 2 chairs and a sofa, and on the table were water and paper napkins. Thank you for coming, she said. I work in short cycles of 6 to 8 meetings. At the end of each, I give homework. The first rule, phones on silent and in the bag. The second, speak for yourself, I think, I feel. The third, don't argue about factual assessments, only about what we can do next. Is that okay? They nodded. Who will start? She asked. Adrian sat up straight and clasped his fingers. I'm angry and I'm hurt, he said. I don't understand why this happened in our house, on our street. I don't know if I can forgive. But I'm willing to talk for my daughter's sake and to understand where we are. Liana looked at the floor and spoke without pause. It's my fault. I didn't have enough conversations at home, and I chose the worst way to close the void. It's not about everything was bad for us. It's about my decision. I don't want to destroy the family. I agree to the rules that will help you not live in anxiety. Dr. Patel sneezed. An important clarification. Are you already living separately? Yes, 2 weeks at my sister's, Adrian said. We've made a schedule for Celeste. Okay, then we need a safety contract for this period, the therapist said, placing a notepad in front of them. A minimum of 6 weeks, 0 contact with your neighbor, with few exceptions. No coffee shops, chance meetings, messages, gifts. If overlap is inevitable, you tell each other right away. Agreed? Yes, said Liana. I agree, said Adrian. Second, a daily 10-minute video call check-in. Not about everyday life, just about the state. At the same time, she continued, you can choose a short structure. Was it difficult easy for me today? How do I see your effort? What do I need tomorrow? Third, the right to a timeout. If the conversation gets too heated, anyone says a 20-minute break, leaves, returns at the appointed time. Don't disappear. Fourth, once a week a meeting about marriage, 45 minutes in a public place. Are you ready? Yes, Adrian said after a pause. Let's try. Separately about Celeste, said Dr. Patel. She needs stability. You don't tell her the details. But you can say, we are working with a consultant. We both love you. You have your routine. Also, the house is a neutral zone. No talking about the neighbor in front of the child. And the last thing for today, repair phrase. Come up with a short phrase that will be a stop before an argument. For example, I'm here, but I need 10 minutes. Which one works for you? They looked at each other. Liana suggested, it's hard to hear, but I'm listening. Okay, said Adrian. And the second, pause, and then I'll get back to the conversation. Excellent, the therapist concluded. Homework, a security contract in a letter to each other tonight. The first check-in is tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. and write 3 specific requests to your partner for the next week. No, be a different person. Only actions. When they came out, there was no one in the corridor. Liana took a deep breath. Thank you for coming, she said. I don't know where this will lead, Adrian replied. But at least we have boundaries. They went in separate cars. In the evening, Liana sent a letter. Contract. I don't cross paths with Caspar. I change the route. I write to you if something unexpected happens. Check in 2030. Requests. 1 Tuesday dinner. 2 Friday you arrive for the choir concert. 3 Saturdays 30 minutes together outside. In response, she received, I accept. My requests. 1 No, Maple and Maine, and the construction supermarket after 16 o'clock. 2 Speak up if it's difficult. Don't keep it to yourself. 3 If in doubt, write to me, not to anyone else. The first check-in was interrupted. Adrian spoke slowly. Today was my automatic day. It got worse in the evening when I realized that I wanted to write to you, and at the same time I didn't want to talk. I appreciated that you sent the contract on time. Tomorrow I need to see you at Celeste's concert. Liana answered without making excuses. Today was scary, but clearer. I feel guilty and tired. I see your effort. You didn't raise your voice even once. For tomorrow, I need us not to discuss what next after the concert, but just take our daughter home. The next day they met in the school auditorium. Celeste stood in the third line, the light falling on her face. Liana and Adrian sat next to each other, but their elbows were not touching. After the concert, the choir teacher came up to them. Excellent work, she said. Your daughter is good at second voices. Thank you, they answered simultaneously and smiled for the first time in many days in the same way. In the car, Liana said evenly. Thank you for coming on time. It's important, he replied. At home, Celeste was dividing the flowers into 2 vases. She asked, Are you having dinner together today? Yes, said Adrian. Pasta and salad. The phones are in the kitchen. The evening passed quietly. No one mentioned neighbors, garages, or coffee. Before going to bed, Liana opened the note, repair phrase, and added, speak briefly and to the point. For the first time in many days, she fell asleep without thinking about whose phone was whose. On Friday, Dr. Patel sent a short checklist. Monitor triggers. Stop. Write specific requests. Liana found herself wanting to forward the checklist to Adrian, but also realizing that he could already see her efforts in the cases, not the files. On Saturday, he and Celeste went to see Grandma, and in the evening, the 3 of them walked through the park, the same 30 minutes that were in the letter. They didn't sum it up. It was enough for them that the plan was being carried out without a hitch. The second appointment with Dr. Patel was 3 days later. The room was still calm. Water, tissues, strict lighting. The doctor suggested an exercise called influence and responsibility. You first, Adrian, she said. Just to myself. Not you did it, but it affected me this way. He exhaled and began. I feel like home is no longer a safe place. I feel angry and ashamed. I question my judgment. If I didn't notice this, what else am I missing? I work and I've missed a lot. But I didn't give permission for someone else to take my place. I don't know if I can respect our boundaries again. Liana listened without interrupting. The doctor nodded to her. Now it's your turn. I was lonely, Liana said. I was doing a lot of things, but I felt invisible. I made a bad decision. I'm not shifting blame. I understand that I broke trust. I'm willing to endure the consequences, and I'm willing to fix it. Not with promises, but with actions. Specifics, the doctor reminded me. Now I offer a timeline of the event. Liana, describe minute by minute how you got to that evening. Where could you have stopped? Liana told. A roller by the door, choice of color, a splinter, a first aid kit, closeness, a kiss, a step back. Stop dots, the doctor clarified. Not to go to the garage, Liana said. Not to text after. Tell my husband right away. I chose the opposite. The doctor wrote it down. Homework, a letter with this timeline and an intervention plan. What do you do next time at the first sign of a craving for someone else's attention? Call me, message Adrian, find a way out of the situation. Second, a trust table. Every day, a small promise that you keep. For example, be on time, honestly inform each other about the route. Send the table to each other on Sundays. And one more thing. I suggest extending the separate residence to 6 weeks with a clear schedule for the child. Ready? Ready, Adrian said. With the schedule. I agree, said Liana. On the way out, they paused by the elevator. Adrian said evenly. I'll choose Friday, Saturday for me, Sunday for you until the evening. On weekdays, according to the choir and club schedule. We'll split the finances as before. Mortgage and utilities me, groceries equally. We'll agree on big expenses. Okay? Okay, Liana nodded. And one more thing. I'll remove Maple and Main from my routes. The economic one only in the mornings in another location. If we accidentally cross paths with him, I'll write to you right away. We have a deal, he said. In the evening, they told Celeste. They sat at the table and put away their phones. We're working with a consultant, Adrian said. We'll live apart for a while longer. It's not because of you. Your routine isn't changing. Are you getting divorced? She asked directly. There is no solution, Liana replied. We are trying to fix it. You can ask questions if you are worried. We will answer. I need to know who's going to drive me to choir practice on Tuesday, Celeste said. I am, said Adrian, and I'll come to your concert on Friday. Celeste nodded. She needed specifics. The following week, the consequences became visible in small details. Liana took a different route to the supermarket, turned around when she saw blue pickups on her street. In the morning, she wrote in the spreadsheet, reported route in advance, completed. In the Ta chat, she wrote only relevant messages without chatting. Julia asked in the library, how's the exchange rate? It's useful, Liana replied. A lot of practice, and a lot of discipline. Hang in there, Julia said. Not everything is solved quickly. Adrian at the office refused to have an evening beer with the team for the first time in a long time. How are you? Asked colleague Mike. In therapy, Adrian said honestly, trying to set the rules. I'm not in the mood for bars. I understand, Mike nodded. If you want to talk, I'm here. No advice. Adrian wrote on the table. Arrived at the choir on time. Dinner done. Check in 2030 done. In the check, he said briefly, I was less angry today. I saw your effort you sent the route before I asked. Tomorrow, I will ask you to come to the conversation on Thursday with Dr. Patel on time, without being late. Liana responded in the same structure. I had a hard time at the store today. I turned around and went somewhere where I wouldn't risk running into him. I see your effort you showed up for choir and didn't check your phone. Tomorrow, I need you to pick up Celeste after rehearsal. I'll be late for a TAM meeting. Dr. Patel's session on Thursday was anger without attack. The doctor laid out cards. Adrian, formulate your anger with facts and a request. Facts. I saw the messages. You acknowledged the kiss. I ask. No new contacts, no secrets, no areas where I'm not allowed. Liana? Facts. I violated the boundaries. Please, if you feel bad, say it in the moment. and don't save it. Okay, the doctor said. 2 more tools. Safe word, pause, and you both stop talking for 20 minutes. There were social consequences, too. On Saturday, a neighbor from across the street waved at Liana and asked about the fence. Liana responded neutrally and quickly went into the house. On Sunday morning, she saw Kaspar from afar, unloading boards. He didn't look up, and it was easier than she expected. They discussed finances calmly. Adrian transferred an extra amount for food and school, sent a list of bills on autopay. Liana sent a spreadsheet of expenses for 2 weeks and attached receipts. At the end of the letter, she added, "Thank you for being punctual in choir." He replied, "I note your effort with the calendar." A week later, Dr. Patel suggested a meeting about meaning without everyday life. "What does respect mean to you in marriage?" she asked. "Predictability and honest words," Adrian said, "and boundaries that don't need to be guarded." "Attention on ordinary days," Liana said, "when I am heard not as an afterthought." "Write this down in large letters and hang it up in your home," said the doctor. "It's not a slogan, but a criterion for decisions." In the evening, Liana printed out a sheet. "Respect equals sign predictability plus honest words. Attention on ordinary days." She attached it to the refrigerator next to the agreements. Celeste read it and said, "I like predictability." "We too," said Adrian. By the end of the second week, they had accepted 2 more consequences. The first was no physical gestures. He said, "I'm not ready for hugs. I shouldn't force myself for the sake of decency." "I understand," Liana said. "No pressure." The second is the trusted circle. They told Kara and Liana's mother that they were seeing a therapist, without details. This reduced the number of unnecessary questions. They were sitting on the porch on Sunday evening. Celeste was reading in the room. The air was cool. "I don't know where this is going," Adrian said calmly, "but I see that we're doing the job. I'm still angry, and I'm still here." "I'm here too," said Liana, "and I'll do my part to the end." The separation began without announcement. On Monday morning, Liana dropped Celeste off at school and returned to an empty house. During the day, she went to the market, bought some groceries, and stopped by her mother's. Her mother asked her directly, "Are you coping?" "We're working with a therapist," Liana replied. "It's hard for me, but we have a plan." Mother nodded and offered to help with the Thursday dinners. Liana accepted. In the evening, there was a check-in. The screen was split in half. Liana in the kitchen, Adrian at Kara's table. "It was easier for me today," he said. "I went for a run this morning, and I refused to meet at the bar this afternoon to keep things simple. I'll pick Celeste for choir tomorrow. What do you need?" "I need you to send me a list of the boxes in the garage," Liana replied. "Celeste wants to finish drawing the family tree." On Tuesday, they met for a minute at the school entrance. They passed each other a choir backpack and discussed the facts. "I'll pick you up at 6:20, Adrian said. "Okay, she has math up to 8, Liana said. They didn't hug or hold each other's gaze. Celeste waved at both of them and ran off to her friend. It all looked businesslike, but not cold. Adrian gradually settled in at Kara's. He put a couple of shirts in the closet, bought a separate box of cereal, and arranged for shared parking with his nephew. Kara didn't ask too many questions, but in the evening she said, "If you want, we're having a family dinner on Sunday. Come with Celeste. No adult conversations." "We'll come," he replied. At work, Mike brought coffee and asked, "How are you holding up?" "According to plan," Adrian said. "Therapy, schedule, baby, emotions later." "Call me if you want to go to the park during the day," Mike suggested. "No talking, just a walk." Liana was working in the school library on Wednesday, sorting new donations. Julia came up with a box. "You've lost weight," she noted. "Are you eating normally?" "I'm trying," Liana said. "I keep going on porridge and soups, and on plans." "We have a parents' club meeting on Saturday," Julia reminded me. The topic is what and how to talk to children about difficult events. I'll come, Liana answered. At home, Liana encountered a trigger at an intersection. At the turnoff to Maple and Main, she habitually wanted to turn off. She drove past, wrote down on the table, avoided route, informed Adrian. In response, only received. No comment, but it was enough. On Thursday, Dr. Patel worked according to plan. The topic of the meeting was boundaries of separate lives. The doctor offered a clear list. No overnight stays at each other's houses for the next 4 weeks. Baby swaps are in public places, school, supermarket parking. A shared calendar is a must. And also, Friday status 5 minutes without discussion, just facts on the trust chart. Fair? Yes, they both answered. After the session, they drank a glass of water in the hallway, Adrian said. Kara's having dinner on Sunday. It would be good for Celeste to see everyone. Okay, Liana nodded. I'll take her to Grandma's on Saturday for a couple of hours. Friday evening was quiet at Liana's house. Celeste was working on a project. A new sheet was added to the refrigerator, family tree, arrows, and dates. At 9 o'clock, a reminder came from the doctor. Friday status. They briefly went over the points via video link. Me, the choir on time. I broke down once in my thoughts, but I didn't go to the bar, said Adrian. Me, routes in advance, no coffee shops after 4, parents' club on Saturday. It's difficult at the paint rack, left right away, said Liana. Accepted, he nodded. Thank you for your honesty. On Saturday at the parents' club, a consultant gave a simple scheme for talking to children, fact-feeling plan. Fact, we live separately. Feeling, we are sad and uneasy. Plan, we go to a consultant, you have a stable routine, Liana repeated in her notebook. At home, she said it exactly the same way in front of Celeste. Her daughter asked, "Will we be together on Thanksgiving?" "Yes," Adrian said over the video link. "A celebration together. We've already recorded it." On Sunday, Kara had a table set. Chicken, salad, roasted vegetables. Her nephew showed her Lego, and Celeste helped cut apples. Kara quietly said to Liana in the kitchen, "If you need logistics on weekdays, I can cover for you. Call me." "Thank you," Liana replied. "It's important to me that you're here, but without details." "Nearby is the detail," Kara said, and she stopped there. Adrian and Celeste returned to Liana at 8. On the threshold, he said, "Tomorrow I'll take her to the dentist at 4. "I saw it," Liana replied. "I scheduled my insurance payment and consultation with Dr. Patel for Wednesday." At the door, they both hesitated. The usual movement to embrace was not suitable. They parted without gestures, but without coldness. The new week, they tried a marriage meeting in a public place. They sat on a bench near a city park, next to a fountain and a small fair. Liana said, "I filled out the event timeline and will send it to the doctor. There are specific stop points. I am ready to sign that at the first trigger I will write to you and not to anyone else. I'd appreciate it if you told me right away that you were feeling unwell," Adrian replied. "Even if I'm busy, I'll answer when I can, but I need to know right away." "We have a deal," she said. Celeste, meanwhile, adapted. Living apart didn't get any easier by the end of the month, but it was no longer chaotic. Liana learned to take different routes, not to look into her neighbor's windows, and to write down facts without emotion if it was logistics. Adrian learned to leave his work in the car in front of Kara's house and to answer check-ins without passive anger. They didn't return to hugging. They didn't talk about the future more than 2 weeks in advance. But not a single item on the schedule fell through. At the end of the week, Dr. Patel sent a reminder. The next meeting is about solutions. Consider what would be a fair outcome for everyone if trust is not restored. Liana read it and put the phone on the table. Adrian read it on the machine and typed into his notes. "Ask yourself, can I live without constant scrutiny?" They both knew that the next session would not be about charts. It would be the first direct answer. Adrian ran along the embankment for half an hour and sat down on a bench in the park until his pulse leveled off. He opened the note. Ask yourself, can I live without constant inspection? The answer came in one word, no. He added, I don't want to live as an inspector. He closed the phone and sat quietly, listening to the seagulls screaming over the water. Liana spent the morning at school, helping the librarian put away new textbooks and bringing copies of her great-grandmother's old letters to the history teacher. On her way back, she bought printer paper and drove past Maple and Main without turning off, a now familiar move. In the kitchen, she put napkins on the table, glanced at the list of respect equal sign predictability plus honest words, and thought that today those words would test her honesty. They met at Dr. Patel's office at 7 o'clock. Adrian dropped Celeste off at Kara's for dinner. Liana left her daughter a note. We're at the consultant's. We'll be back after 9. Good luck with the essay. They didn't talk in the hallway. The doctor invited them into her office and immediately set the topic. Today is a decision session. Everyone will have time to say what is fair to them. I am not insisting on one outcome. My task is for you to leave here with an understanding of the next step. The rules are the same. Say I. She turned to Adrian. Ready? He nodded, resting his elbows on his knees. I've thought a lot. And the more honestly I think, the more clearly I hear one thing. I can't live in a marriage where I had to become a guard. I'm less angry, but respect for boundaries hasn't returned. I don't want to drag you into relationship-intensive care, where every step is a test for me. I want to be Celeste's father without cracks and be a respectful parenting partner with you. But I'm not coming back as a husband. I'm asking for a divorce through a mediator without a fight. The house is yours and Celeste's. I'll go to Kara for a while, then rent a place nearby. Joint custody in half. He spoke calmly and without ostentatious drama. The words entered the room like things that had been standing in the hallway for a long time and finally found their place. Dr. Patel snorted. Thank you for the clarity. Liana, your answer. Liana held a napkin in her hands, but she did not cry. She looked straight at Adrian. I hear you, and I accept you. I won't ask for another chance if you're not ready. I'm guilty, and it hurts, but I respect your decision. I want a peaceful divorce and fair rules. It's important to me that Celeste sees us as a team in her issues. I agree to a house and joint custody, finances and a schedule through a mediator. She paused, took a breath, and added, and thanks for saying it here and not in a message. The doctor looked at both of them. This is an adult conversation. The next step I suggest, I will give you the contact of a mediator who works with families without judicial escalation. You will go to him together, draw up a draft agreement, custody, time allocation, house, bills, holidays, rules of communication. In parallel, continue my sessions 2 or 3 more times to maintain the constructiveness until signing. Ready? Yes, said Adrian. Yes, Liana repeated. Another important part, the doctor continued. A conversation with Celeste. Recommendations. Talk together. Use the fact-feeling plan scheme. Fact, we decided to get a divorce. Feeling, we are sad and scared, but we care about you. Plan, you stay at your school, home with mom, dad is nearby, the schedule is clear, holidays are together or in turns. Do not discuss the reasons, do not name names. Your task is to relieve the child's fear of instability. They wrote it down. After the session, they stood by the elevator, unsure whether to shake hands. In the end, they just nodded. I'll call the mediator in the morning, Adrian said. I'll send you the time. I'll tell Mom, Liana replied, and I'll ask Julia to pick Celeste up after choir tomorrow if we're delayed at the lawyer's. Not a lawyer, he corrected softly. A mediator. Let's keep that word for now. I agree, she said. At Kara's table, Celeste was finishing her pasta. Adrian sat down next to her. The 3 of us will talk at home, he said. We'll just go and put you to bed now, okay? Okay, she said, feeling the seriousness. At home, they sat her down on the sofa. The phones were in another room. The lamp burned softly. Adrian began. Fact, my mother and I have decided to get a divorce. This is a final decision. We are not arguing now. We have agreed to talk calmly. Liana continued, feeling, we are sad and uneasy, but we love you. That doesn't change. Adrian went to the plan. The plan, you stay at your school, your room the same. Home with your mom. I'll live nearby, we'll make a schedule. I have certain days, we'll share holidays or sometimes spend them together, if that's easier for you. We'll go to a person who helps families negotiate peacefully. Celeste looked at them attentively, clasping her hands. She asked quietly, is it my fault? No, they said at the same time. Will you come to my concerts together? The voice trembled. Yes, said Liana. Always. Yes, Adrian repeated. And we'll talk to each other about your business. No stress. Celeste nodded, leaned over, and hugged first her mother, then her father, briefly, one at a time. Her tears came quickly and stopped just as quickly. I want to know where everyone will be spending the night, she said dryly, as if checking a list. Dad's at Aunt Cara's soon. Then he'll rent an apartment in our area, Liana answered. Then I need 2 phone chargers, Celeste concluded, and a calendar for the wall. We'll do it, Adrian said, and felt how this, we'll do it, was now the only thing that helped him breathe. After Celeste went into the room, they stayed in the kitchen. They talked about practical things, insurance, school, who would tell the relatives. Not a single voice broke. Thank you for the way you spoke, Adrian said, already at the door. It was right. Thank you for staying with me until the end of the conversation, Liana replied. Liana didn't sleep that night. She sat by the window with a mug of water and thought not about guilt, but about the emptiness that would come when the contract was signed. She didn't want to go there. She wrote herself a note. Monday gym, Tuesday parents club, Friday dinner with mom. She built the banks. Adrian stared at the ceiling in Cara's guest room. His thoughts didn't argue. The decision was right. The pain didn't go away, but it became clearer. He opened his laptop and wrote a short letter to the mediator the doctor had sent. We are a family with 1 teenage daughter. We want a peaceful agreement. We are ready to come together. He pressed send and turned off the screen. In the morning, both had a new entry on their calendars. Mediator Wednesday 5 p.m. From that moment on, their marriage had a date and form of termination, and with it, a schedule for future joint custody where they would remain a team for Celeste. For the first week after the signatures, life went according to a new schedule. On Monday, Liana dropped Celeste off at school and stopped by the school counselor's office. The office was small, with games and notebooks on the shelf. I read your letter, Mrs. Rowe said. The goal is to support the child without undue attention. Do you see any warning signs? Sleep is fine, grades are fine, but at home she has become very specific. She wants to know who is going where and at what time, Liana said. I don't mind. I just want it not to turn into constant fear. Specifics after a divorce are a normal support, the advisor nodded. I will meet with her once every 2 weeks. No pressure. If something comes up, I will write to both of you. In the evening, Celeste showed her dad the list for tomorrow via video link. Tuesday is your day, she said. Pick me up at the side entrance, there's less crowd there. I wrote it down, Adrian replied. I have a surprise. Your blanket and collage board were brought to the new apartment. Okay, she smiled, but no toys for children. I'll leave them with Mom. Adrian's first night in his new apartment passed without fuss. The complex was a block from the school. Celeste's room had white walls, a table, a desk lamp, and a new blanket. The kitchen smelled of tomato sauce. The plates are in this cupboard, Adrian said. A separate shelf for your breakfasts. Thank you, she said, looked around and asked, can I put a copy of the schedule on the door? I've already printed it out, he showed the sheet, and also a set of markers. Before going to bed, she wrote to her mother briefly, Daddy is fine. The bed doesn't creak. The blanket is okay. Liana replied, Good night. See you on Thursday. On Wednesday, the choir was late. Liana was standing at the side entrance when the teacher came up with a notebook. "She's holding up well," Mrs. Cohen said, "but I'll give her a couple of solfeggio homework assignments in an easy format. It's best not to break the routine now." "Thank you," said Liana. "We have a calendar." On Thursday evening, Dr. Patel had a discussion about children's issues. "Formulate a general message for school rumors," she suggested. "Children or parents may approach you. Yes, we are getting a divorce. We have agreed amicably. Celeste is staying at school. Support is welcome. The details are personal," Adrian said. "That's fine," Liana nodded. "That's what I'll answer if they ask me at Ta." On Friday, the first minor accident happened. Celeste forgot her choir folder at Liana's, and the performance was in an hour. Adrian called. "I have 20 minutes before rehearsal. Are you closer?" "I'm coming," Liana said quickly. "I'll pick up the folder and bring it to the side entrance." 15 minutes later, she was already handing the folder to her daughter. "Thank you," Celeste breathed out. "I thought we'd pick it." "We have 2 houses, but 1 team," Liana said and smiled at Adrian. "We'll meet in the hall." The concert was bright. After the performance, Celeste came out with flowers in both hands. "Did you hear the second voice?" she asked. "I heard," Adrian said. "Clean." "I heard," Liana said, "and I saw how you paused." The 3 of them took a photo. The photo was sent to Cara and Grandma. There were no unnecessary hugs between the adults, but there was no awkwardness either. Celeste went to her grandmother's for a couple of hours over the weekend. Her grandmother cooked chicken and apple pie. At the table, her grandmother simply said, "Divorce doesn't mean separated from the child. I'm here. If necessary, you can spend the night at my place." "Thank you," Celeste said, "but 2 houses are enough for me for now." On Monday, a rumor surfaced in the school chat. Someone wrote, "I heard Celeste's parents are getting a divorce. Poor girl." Liana saw the screenshot from Julia, sighed, and wrote a reply in private. "Yes, we are getting divorced. Peacefully. Please do not make this a topic of discussion. If you need help at an event, I am available." Julia sent a heart and offered to replace her at the fair. Liana refused. "I can handle it." At check-in on Tuesday, Adrian said, "Mrs. Rowe wrote to me. She and Celeste discussed holiday plans. She wanted a clear answer about Thanksgiving." "Let's write together," Liana said. "This year, that's the right thing to do." "I agree," he nodded. On Wednesday evening, they met outside a furniture store. They needed to buy a second set of bed linen and a project box. "Let's take identical pillowcases," Celeste suggested, "so there's no confusion." "We'll take it," said Adrian. "And boxes with lids," Liana added, "for great-grandmother's letters." "I'll pay," Adrian said. "You're having Saturday breakfast." "Agreed," she replied. On the way home, Liana noticed blue boards at the house across the street. Kaspar was working in the garage, the door open. He didn't look up. Liana didn't slow down. She just moved closer to the edge of the sidewalk. Her heart responded with a short jolt and calmed down. Later, she wrote down on the table, "Trigger passed. No contact." On Friday night, pizza brought them back together in Liana's kitchen. Celeste was putting out cheese. Adrian was slicing tomatoes. "I have a longer rehearsal next Friday," Celeste said. "Can we move the pizza to Saturday?" "We'll move it," Adrian said. "I'll write it down," said Liana. After dinner, Celeste went off to write an essay. Adrian lingered at the door. "Thank you for the way you've been handling this week," he said evenly, "without unnecessary emotion, but with business." "Thank you for being on time with everything," she replied. "It makes Celeste feel better." At the next session, Dr. Patel discussed how to build resilience. Celeste is suited to the ritual of 2 houses, the same things and the same rules, the doctor said. Add a family council every 2 weeks. 3 questions: what works, what doesn't, what to change. "We'll do it," they said. The first council was held on Sunday after the park. We sat down at the table and took out a piece of paper. What works? Adrian asked. A calendar and 2 exercises, Celeste said, and the fact that you both come to choir. What's not working? Liana asked. When I get moved from one house to another at the last minute, Celeste said. It's confusing. Better early. Let's write, without transfers on the same day, said Adrian. If there is a force majeure, we write to each other earlier. Change what? Liana asked. I wish Dad had a rug like this by his bed, Celeste said. My feet are cold. I'll buy it, Adrian nodded. The meeting took 10 minutes and proceeded without argument. It seemed like a working meeting, but a warm one. By the end of the month, Celeste's grades remained steady. She began inviting her friends over to her home more often, to both Liana and Adrian. She was placed in the front row of the choir. She stopped double-checking who was picking her up the next day because she saw it on the calendar. Liana noted in her notebook that evening, adaptation is underway. The child is calm, the rituals work, the school is aware. She turned off the light and thought that the emptiness was gradually being filled with routine. Not with strangers, not with promises, but with the schedule that she keeps. Autumn has entered into a routine. The challenge was not only to maintain stability for Celeste, but also to bring order to her adult life. On Monday morning, Liana came to the gym near the school for the first time. A small hall, simple exercise machines, calm music. The trainer, a woman of about 40, showed a basic program for 40 minutes. No feats, said the trainer, twice a week, and drink water. It suits me, Liana replied. I want my head to rest. After training, Liana stopped by the library to drop off some books. Mr. Lopez called her into his office. We've got a fall cataloging backlog, he said. We need paid hours for an assistant for 3 weeks. You can handle it. We'll arrange it through the district. In the mornings, while Celeste's at school. Liana was surprised, but felt that she was ready. Yes, she said, that's just what I need. She came out with a stack of paperwork and called her mother. I've been offered a temporary job at the library, she said. Can you cover a couple of mornings? Of course, the mother replied. That's good news. Adrian had changed too. At the planning meeting, he immediately told the team, I am unavailable after 7 in the evening, except in case of force majeure. This rule is not only for me. Keep to the schedule. Mike chuckled. Have you moved to the no heroism camp? I went back there, Adrian said. It's better for everyone. That afternoon, he spoke to HR and got a personal contact for an employee support program consultant. The same sessions with Dr. Patel weren't enough. He wanted to address his personal anger and fatigue separately. On Thursday evening, Liana had her first shift as a library assistant. She put away new books, printed labels, and entered them into the system. The work was quiet and clear. You're careful, Mr. Lopez said. Our parents often burn out from volunteering, but you keep up the pace. Paid work disciplines you, Liana replied, and it gives you a sense of usefulness. Friday was the first test of their new system. Celeste wanted to go to a friend's house for the night. According to the schedule, it was Adrian's night. Can I go to see Catherine? They're going away for the weekend, Celeste asked her dad in the car. If Mom agrees, he said. I'm all for it. I'll pick you up on Saturday morning and we'll have breakfast at a cafe. Liana responded quickly, I agree. The night passed without fuss. In the morning, Adrian picked up his daughter and they sat in a quiet diner. Pancakes or an omelet, he asked. Pancakes, Celeste said. And can we go to the park with Mom tomorrow? Yes, we can, he nodded. Liana noticed that the internal tension had subsided. The system had withstood the first flexible turn. On Saturday afternoon, Liana encountered the trigger at the mailboxes. Kaspar was walking toward her, holding envelopes. He looked down, not slowing down. Liana nodded slightly and walked past. Her heart responded briefly and quieted down. She wrote down on the table, no contact. reaction calm. At the check-in, she said only, "Met on the street." No words. Adrian replied, "Received." On Sunday, there was a family council. Celeste noted, "What works is that you write it in your calendar in advance. What doesn't work is that you reschedule music lessons at the last minute. I get confused." "We'll take that into account," Adrian said. "I'll set a reminder a day in advance." "I'd like to add a question mark to the things you're not sure about yet," Liana suggested, "so it doesn't seem like it's already been decided." "Agreed," Celeste said, and drew a green circle next to the possible plans items. On Monday, Adrian went to the new apartment and installed the curtain rod and the rug by the bed. Kara came in with a box of dishes. "You need a bigger pot," she said. "People come for pizza more often." "Thank you," he replied. "Celeste suggested mini pizzas on Friday. Come on in." At the same time, the court reviewed their agreement. The mediator sent a notice, approval date in 3 weeks. The dry document with a seal meant that the final was near. "How are you?" Liana's mother asked on the phone. "Calmer," Liana answered. "There's not much work, but it's bringing back the rhythm. And Celeste is stable. That's the main thing." At a course at a family center, they were discussing new roles after divorce. The presenter said, "Your task is not to become each other's psychologists. You are co-parents. Protect the boundaries." Liana wrote down, "Co-parents are not therapists." This matched the way they were living now. Short, business-like calls, specific requests, no attempts to discuss the past in the hallways. On Wednesday evening, Adrian had his first personal session with a consultant. He spoke in plain words. "I am not happy with the role of a controller. I chose divorce because otherwise I will be checking phones for the rest of my life. I want to learn to let simple things go without suspicion. Let's start with the body's reaction," the consultant said. "Notice where anxiety arises in the body and what reduces it. Practice 3 minutes of breathing every morning and record when you choose not to check." Adrian walked out feeling like he too had a tool, not just rules. On Friday night, 2 top parents gathered at Liana's house to discuss the winter book sale. They sat in the kitchen, drinking tea. The conversation was businesslike and calm. Liana found herself laughing again at ordinary things, how someone's cat hid hair clips, how last year's snow had covered the parking lot. "You've become freer," Julia noted, "in a good way." "I've become more consistent," Liana corrected. "No pathos, just routine and work." On Saturday, the 3 of them went to the school's Science Saturday. Celeste showed her stand about the migration of her great-grandmother's family. Liana explained how they searched for letters, Adrian how they drew a map. The history teacher said, "Strong work, clear and precise." After the exhibition, Adrian took Celeste to Liana and went to the park to run and breathe out. He realized that their common affairs no longer tormented him from within. The pain remained, but it no longer controlled every step. By the end of the week, they had a new common item on the horizon, a fall choir concert with parents. Celeste asked them both to come and help with the entrance. They discussed the little things, who would bring water, who would bring flowers. "I'll take water and paper cups," Liana said. "And I'll bring flowers and entry lists," said Adrian. "And don't argue at the door," Celeste smiled. "People feel awkward when adults argue about who's boss." "We won't," said Adrian. "We won't," Liana repeated. The new supports were formed from simple things: schedule, work, gym, short agreements. There was no sense of victory. There was a feeling that life was again based on understandable structures, and that ahead was a big school evening where they would stand next to each other and do one thing for their daughter. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one.